There is one thing stopping internal communicators from landing their dream job. It's not their skills, their qualification, or their experience. It's this one line that I see in job specs, and it sounds something like this. Must have 5 years experience in financial services. Must have previous experience working in the retail sector. There are lots of jobs out there that ask you for very specific experience in a very specific industry. But what if I told you that that requirement is largely nonsense? There's one rule you can use to land any internal communications job you want, regardless of your previous experience in that industry. Now, I'm not just making empty promises here. I've used this approach myself many times to get jobs in industries I have never worked in before. And not only that, I've gone on to win awards in those jobs. There's one behind my shoulder right there. So trust me, I do know what I'm talking about here. In this video, I'm going to share with you my number one rule for landing any internal comms job without specific industry experience. All right, just before we jump in, I know from looking at my analytics that 78% of you watching my videos aren't subscribers yet. I do have a lovely dream of growing this channel to 10,000 subscribers. I need your support to do that. So if you're going to watch this video, if you like my content, do me a favor and just hit that subscribe button. All right, let's get into it. Say you are job hunting and you keep seeing this line come up in ads saying that you need to have worked in this specific industry before, but you haven't. And you feel like this is stopping you even applying from that job, even if you think you're otherwise a good fit with the skills and experience that you have. Is there any way around this? Now, this kind of thing actually drives me nuts. I'd say the only reasonable situation where you might need very specific experience in an industry, if it's like a really short-term contract. Say you're going in for like 3 months or just complete one project and you don't actually have the time to learn on the job, you just need to get the job done and leave. Fine. But if this is a permanent role, if this is a 2-year contract, then that requirement for industry experience, in my view, should just go out the window. And here's why. The entire premise that a communications professional would need specific industry experience is just fundamentally flawed. Think about what we do as professional internal communicators. We understand audiences, we create clear messages, we create strategic alignment, we manage stakeholders effectively, we measure effectiveness, we use communication to drive business outcomes, we align employees to business goals. Do any of these sound industry specific to you? Because they don't to me. Think about it, whether you're communicating with retail staff, with a bunch of engineers, with financial analysts, you're still dealing with human beings who need clear, relevant information to do their jobs effectively. Our job is so similar from industry to industry. You'd be amazed at how similar it is, even in companies that seem completely different. So what is my number one rule for landing any job you want without that specific industry experience? Turn your outsider status into your greatest advantage. That's it, that's the rule. It's going to change everything about how you apply for these jobs and how you position yourself for that role. Let me explain in detail what this means and how you can apply it. Let me tell you a story first. I'll tell you about how I have used this approach. Back in 2016, I applied for a role in a financial services company. I had never worked in financial services before. I didn't know anything about pensions or income protection, which were two of the main products of this company. I didn't know what the word annuity meant. I really had no idea anything about financial services. Did this stop me getting the job? Absolutely not. Because instead of hiding my outsider status when I applied for the job, I embraced it. And during my interview process, during the application, I explicitly said, with me, you're not getting detailed financial sector knowledge or experience. I mean, you have plenty of that in-house already. What you're getting instead is someone with multiple experiences in multiple different sectors, someone who can come in and see your business with fresh eyes, spot opportunities that others might miss, and I can bring proven communication approaches and practices from different sectors and different companies. They hired me and I went on to deliver brilliant work in that company, despite the fact that I had never worked in financial services before. Because when I joined that company, I completely immersed myself in the business. I learned what the company did, I learned how they make money, I learned what their products were. I even sat a few finance exams to really help me understand what the company was all about and how everything worked. I didn't need that specific industry experience when I joined because I was able to learn it quickly when I got the job. After that role, I went on and took up the job of Head of Internal Communications with the Irish National Police Force. Have I ever worked in policing before? No. Did I really understand anything about how policing works? No. I mean, I don't think watching true crime on YouTube really counts. But I used the exact same approach that I had done before. I positioned myself as an outsider and positioned that as an advantage. That the fact that I had never worked in policing before was actually a strength and not a weakness. And again, the lack of industry-specific experience did not hold me back from doing a great job. I did such great work in the police that I won 4 different awards for the work I did in my time there. How did I do this? How did I turn my outsider status into my greatest advantage? Let's unpack it a little bit more so that you can do the same thing if you want to. Let's look at 3 specific tactics that I used that you can try as well. Number 1 is to reframe your application narrative. So first things first, when you read a job spec and it says must have 5 years experience in financial services and you don't have that, don't jump in your mind. Don't jump straight to, oh, I can't apply for that. I definitely couldn't do that. Begin to reframe it in your head and move towards, do you know what? They just don't understand what they need, or they don't know that they need me yet. In your cover letter, in your application, in your interviews, you can explicitly address why being an outsider with no specific industry knowledge in their area is actually a great thing and will benefit the business. Turn what they see as a requirement into something that they actually start to question. What you want to do is get them actually second guessing their entire approach. Here is a little script that you might use. I'll put this on the screen. You could take a picture of this or screenshot this. While I haven't worked in your specific industry before, this gives me a unique advantage. I can see your communications challenges the same way your employees do when they first join, with fresh eyes and without bias or preconceptions. My track record shows that I can rapidly learn new industries while delivering impactful business results. So remember, this number 1 rule about reframing your outsider status as your greatest advantage is about confidence and reframing. It's about helping recruiters and hiring managers see that what they thought was a weakness is actually a superpower. The second tactic you could try is to demonstrate your transferable skills. You want to show the hiring manager that all of your skills are completely transferable into the role they are hiring for. And it's not enough to just say it. You want to show it. You want to demonstrate it. So you want to have some examples and stories that prove that you can do this job and you've done this kind of stuff before. So look carefully at the job spec, at what they want this person to do, and then start to think about specific stories you can tell of how you've done this already. For example, if they're looking for someone who could coach leaders and managers to be better communicators, then tell a story of how you've done that before somewhere else with great results. If they are looking for someone who can manage multiple communication channels or develop really high quality, engaging content, tell a story about how you've done that before and how well it worked. This will show them that all of your skills, all of your experience are completely transferable into this role, that you are well able to do this job. Basically, you want to make it really hard for them to ignore your incredible track record of results that are completely aligned to the core parts of the job they're hiring for. And then the third tactic you can try is doing some targeted research on the company. You want to show the hiring manager that you are super interested in this job and that you've done your homework. And you can do this pretty simply. Like, go online, do a Google search for the company, see if they're in the news about anything. Are there any big changes coming up, any mergers, any big new office moves? Read the last annual company report, and you can pepper a few little nuggets into your application, into your interview, to show that you've done your homework and that you're really curious and you're interested in the role. See what you can find out about what the company is doing right now, where the company is going in the future, and begin to think about how you can help the company to do that and talk about that. I mean, that's the dream. For if anyone walked in to interview with me and they talked like that, I would be so impressed. Another place for doing research is Glassdoor. Like, I love Glassdoor. It is an absolute gold mine for employee insights, for really lifting the hood and seeing what the company is really like. And you might even find some specific nuggets of information about the communication challenges in that company. For example, you might see a bunch of comments that talk about how the leaders never tell people anything, or the leaders can't be trusted, how it's really hard to find information, or how all the technology is out of date, how people waste so much time in meetings. All of this is so useful to know, because you can again pepper some of this into your application, in your interview, show that you already understand what some of their communication challenges are, and talk about ways that you could help them solve these problems. Let me share a quick story about how this worked for one of my clients. Not her real name, but let's call her Sarah. Now, she had worked in healthcare for years, but she really wanted to make a move into a tech company. But every job posting she saw for a tech company wanted previous experience in a tech company. They wanted someone coming from SaaS She just didn't have that experience. But Sarah was great because instead of getting discouraged, she took this number one rule I'm talking about in this video and she used that to apply for these jobs. She highlighted things like, well, working in healthcare has helped me develop my skills into communicating complex topics really simply and in a really engaging way, something that tech companies often struggle with. And she showed how she could apply that same skill and experience into a tech company. She emphasized how her experience of communicating with doctors who can be very, very busy and quite selective about the content they read prepared her perfectly for working with engineers and developers, for example. So she prepared specific stories and showed how she was well able to do this job despite her lack of working in tech before. She landed 3 interviews pretty quickly and got a job offer within months. And her story really demonstrates the number one rule I've been talking about in this video: turn your outsider status into your greatest advantage. And this works because it's based on a fundamental truth. Effective communication transcends industry boundaries. It's that simple. Industry knowledge can be learned. It can be learned pretty quickly, but communication expertise takes years to develop. Maybe they just don't realize that what they're looking for is somebody who can communicate well in any company, who can build trust with leaders and with employees, who can drive employee engagement. And these are skills that any good communication professional will have. So the next time that you see your dream job and there's a line in there that requires industry experience that you don't have, please don't close the browser and write it off straight away. Use the ideas in this video to reframe the conversation, reframe the narrative. Turn what seems like a barrier into your unique selling point. They may well realize that your broader experience and your track record of success is actually exactly what they've been looking for. They just didn't know it yet. Okay, I hope that was helpful to you. I have genuinely used this a lot. It's worked really well for me. Let me know what you think in the comments. Would this work for you? Would you try it? That's it for now. Thanks for watching. See you next time.